ulterior motive. I need a foot massage. I am skin hunger. I want your hands on me, and I know when you are touching me that you want me for who I am, and it does not have to end with us getting it on. I need that. Then we have the fourth mode, which is the facilitator mode, and that is you training a significant other in how to have I messages, feel, identifying the feeling, how to reflect back, and how to mode switch. You facilitate that process. It only takes one to do that. For instance, you return home. Those of you whose spouse or significant other is not there. You get home and you get into a heated discussion. Christians don't allow it, okay? Heated discussion. You're back to the same counterproductive argument, counterproductive way of communicating. And you say, oh, wait a minute, I learned something during the relationship enhancement seminar that I'd like to try. Let's just one of us talk while the other will listen and reflect back. And let's begin each sentence of what we have to express with, I feel, identifying the emotion that feeling. And you go first. Okay? I'll just reflect back. You can train someone. That's the facilitator. Now you have to be careful because sometimes people will use you messages under the guise of I feel message. I feel like you're a sloppy housekeeper. That's a slick way of sliding the you message in without identifying the, So I feel is not a magic abracadabra. You have to make sure it's I feel, identify the feeling, and express in behavioral, observable terms. If I say to Brenda, I need from you more affection, what does that mean? I mean, what do you mean affection? I can't get a handle on that. But if I say, baby, I need you to hug me more, I need at least 5 good hugs a day. I need for us to stop this little pecking when I leave home and let's get down to some serious kissing, girl. I need some serious affection. Then I am describing in behavioral terms what I need. After they did the I need from you, they had a list. I had them write it down. I said, now let's contrast. Bob, what are you willing to give in order to have some of your needs met? Remember, in the early days of courtship, we were pouring in that cup and getting, so what are you willing to pour into her cup in order to get something poured into your cup? It was wonderful. They agreed to make love 3 times a week, much to Bob's excitement. Providing the other 4 nights, he would give her all of the affection, the touching, the massaging, whatever. Light sound, warm oil, whatever. Candlelight, soft music, without sexual intercourse. These were members of the church. I observed them 6 months later. They still sitting in church all on top of one another. Why? Because they had engaged in mutual need satisfaction by using some basic principles of communication and conflict resolution. This is something you can use on your job, in any interpersonal relationship. You've got a superior you can't get along with. Instead of confronting and challenging, reflect back what you're hearing. John, the work is just not what it ought to be. We've got to get on the ball. Boss, I hear you saying that you're really unhappy with the way things are going now. Well, you're right. I am. We just got to do better. The competition is getting ahead of us. You seem like you have a concern that we may get to the point where we're going to fall behind if we don't get it together. You're right, Rob. John. Blah, 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 blah. So you can use the reflective method to diffuse counterproductive feelings and to work out win-win scenarios. So I hope that this will be a handy tool that each of you will use and find helpful. The basic skills again: expressive mode, empathic mode, mode switching, and facilitative mode. Any questions about what we've discussed so far? Yes?
Doctor, if that husband in the case that you have just cited happens to be a good Messiah, and he happens to flick the right switch, having agreed for twice a week.
Well, there are certain disagreements that are very, very positive. Okay? Okay, so what you're saying, the question is, if the husband is a good foot massager, a better one than I am. If the husband is a good foot massager and there happens to be erogenous zones in that foot that I haven't been able to find yet, okay? And it's a turn on for her. You know, I would recommend, in that case, if two people, I mean, marriage is honorable above all things considered, right? I would recommend that you go with the flow. That's not a problem. But one of the things that we use as therapists to help people who are having sexual difficulty is what we call sensate focus exercise. And what you do is individually massage one another, touch one another, get accustomed to touching one another for other than sexual reasons. One of the reasons why people have sexual difficulty is because they don't make love all day. Sex is kind of a truncated kind of experience. We fight, we argue, we battle the vicissitudes of life, we eat, we drink, and then, whoop, it's 9 o'clock, let's make love. It just doesn't work that way. And I think a man needs to learn how to make love. It means you got to be setting it up all along. When you give that foot massage, you're thinking, you know, you get that foot massage on Monday, but you're thinking Tuesday. So when you back off and even lie and say, that's all I want today. I don't want any more than that. I just want to be close to you. I will, many times, will embrace Brendan. I've been able to do it now with a straight face, look her in the eyes and say, I just want to hold you. She knows better than that, but she buys it now. Okay. Also, men need to learn that when you vacuum the house, you're making love. When you wash the dishes, put them in the dishwasher, you're making love. When you lessen her load so that she has more energy, you're making love. Brenda walked in the other day and said, who cleaned the microwave? I said, babe, so it needs cleaning. And I'm setting that stuff up all the time. I got one thing on my mind, and that is to love the Lord with all my heart. But I would say, given the problems that they were having, my recommendation would be stick with the program, you know. Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir.
It is just a technical thing here. You said whenever you use
We can't hear him.
when you express I, you must kind of say I am angry because you never use the you.
Well, you don't have to say you. You say, I feel angry because the socks are on the floor. Not because you dropped the socks on the floor, you stupid fella, you. But because the socks are there. So that he can interpret and say, well, you know, socks on the floor, they don't bother me, but if it bothers you, we can deal with it. So you're expressing your feelings. You're basically saying, in my opinion, this is not a good situation. And everyone has a right to his or her opinion. So you can't challenge an opinion. You can't say you're lying, you don't feel that way. That's the way I feel. So you deal with feelings. That's what makes this so effective. You don't put anybody on up right or wrong. You're owning up to an unhappiness that you are experiencing. And that's power. Yes, ma'am.
How do you be socialized, especially our Caribbean men who are not really socialized to touch and hold and hug, but they feel that when they bring the money home or go to work every day, you should understand that they love you. And then when time comes,
how do you socialize Caribbean men and some American men who feel because I bring the paycheck home, I have manifested my love? Whereas one man said, I told you that I loved you 20 years ago when I married you, and in faith you'll be the first to know. Okay? I think if you do the contract, make a list of needs. Do the exercise of I need from you. Reflecting back to feeling. Give your partner an opportunity to do that. Make a list of the needs. I guarantee you that if one of your needs is to be held and caressed without any other activity, just for that, and you agree, if you will do that, I will do something on your list, maybe even 2 things on your list. I guarantee you, you'll get the caress and the hooking and everything else you want, because it's a quid pro quo. Yeah. If we made a list, there's nothing on Brenda's list that's legal that I would not be willing to do, provided I could get one thing on my list. And I won't tell you what that one is. I don't want to talk about Bible study together. That's my favorite one. Okay? So you would work out a contracting exercise where hopefully you could articulate your needs and then contract with one another. I'm willing to do this if you're willing to do this.
I was thinking that the rigid structuring, scheduling, negotiations, doesn't that take away from the spontaneity that marriage is supposed to be all about?
Well, we're talking about a relationship that is, to some extent, in extremis. And you're trying to fix it. Now, when you're trying to fix, the question was the rigidity of the structure of communication, of expressing needs, contracting, doesn't that take away some of the spontaneity? Yes, it does. But hopefully in a productive way that will lead to greater spontaneity. You see, in my home, we have a budget. In my home, one of the things I would definitely encourage for other homes is a division of labor. Who does what and when? Now that seems structured and unfair. But why is that an effective way of doing things? If Brenda comes to me and says, honey, the living room needs vacuum. Baby, the dishwashing needs empty. I just vacuumed the living room. I'm trying to get this lecture together. Well, I'm around here working too. The dishwasher needs empty. Darling, could you go out and turn on the sprinkler? After a while, that gets old. It would be much better to say, in the normal scheme of things, you clean the upstairs bathroom, I clean the downstairs bathroom. You vacuum the living room, I vacuum the den. You wash the car, I do this. Why? Because you have a division of labor. And when she will ask me to do something that is not on my list, it becomes an expression of love when I do it, rather than being harangued with the unknown, thinking to myself, what will she come up with next? Okay? So in the same way, by starting out with structure, you're talking about people who are not communicating very well anyway. You're talking about people who are interrupting one another listening to one another. You're talking about people who can't even get their needs expressed. By structuring it, you force the listening. By structuring it, you force the understanding of needs and feelings, which are so very, very important. But you place it in a way that it's not going to be challenged. And then you work out a quid pro quo that hopefully eventually will develop into something that's a little more spontaneous and exciting. Yes, Angel.
Yeah, I have listened to you carefully, and
You always listen carefully.
and I agree with you. But now, you didn't say it, but I'm getting the picture that in this sexual relationship, the man is the aggressor. Now switch the ball. What happens now when the woman is the aggressor?
Well, I will give you an example of that. I had a man who came to me, and he said, his wife with him, and he said, she wants to make love twice a day. Tears came to my eyes, and he thought I was crying. I'm serious. I actually started wiping my eyes. Why do some guys have all the love? No, there are, that's a true story. I actually got my eyes brimmed with tears. Lucky devil. But anyway, and the same, yeah, there are times when the libidinal needs of the husband is not as insistent as the libidinal needs of the wife, and you have to work out win-win scenarios on that also. I think it's a wonderful thing when a woman initiates and should feel free to initiate the sexual activity. But I think it's the responsibility of the husband to make sex so exciting that she will be thinking to herself, I want some more of that. Okay? And so many husbands are so unskilled in their lovemaking that wives will think to themselves, is that all there is? And, you know, if it's a prosaic experience, they're not going to want to go back to it. But when she's, you know, you driving home and she says, you know, I want you to do some more of that same money, then you know you're doing something right. Hallelujah. Yes, ma'am.
I attended a course not too long ago by the Jones in Trinidad, and just in answer to his question, I want him to know that when they really understand how a woman feels, that woman will go head over heel and do anything for that man. Because, okay, it will be spontaneous. When he was asking about communication there, and a woman will always be flexible when she knows that a man is going out of his way to help her. And in Dr. Jones' lecture, they mentioned that when a man wants stuff, he would start from the morning when he's leaving to go to work and remind her and set the pace all day so that when he gets home, the woman is all ready.
You can even sometimes driving home, I will begin to talk to Brenda about what I plan to do to her when we get there. And I use my best Barry White voice. And you would be amazed at how powerful verbal foreplay is. You know? It really can be a powerful thing. So I agree with you. Beginning in the morning, with the way you say goodbye to her, with the way you help around the house. Baby, don't bother with that. I'll take care of it. I mean, she's got to know something's up. Literally, I mean, something's up. So, someone please ask another question to get me off this hook.
When a family or when a marriage has gotten to the point where you have got to sit down and make each other listen to each other, it means that you never understood each other in the first place. So in doing this,
Okay, let's listen to comment.
So in doing this, it gives the couple a chance to really get to know each other. Because sometimes in relationships, I know, and I'll use mine as an example, and I'm not ashamed to use it. I feel so misunderstood at times. And it's because we don't communicate. And that's one of my needs. I need to be able to chat. I need to be able to talk. To be able to talk and, you know, just talk in symbols and we understand each other. That's what I need. You know, and because I don't have that, I feel like I'm not understood.
Well, I agree with you. I don't know if I agree with the part that you never understood one another, but you certainly haven't understood one another in a while because you're not listening to one another. And the beauty of this system is it forces you to listen. The reason why you have to listen is because you have to reflect back. Often in the counseling, the empathic person has problems even reflecting back accurately what has been said. And I, as the counselor, will have to correct and say, that's not what I heard.
Right.
Is that what you said? And she'll say, no, that's not what I said at all. Okay, so you teach that. The beauty is that eventually they're able to solve their own problems. Eventually, when they're experiencing difficulty, they can go to what they have been taught in terms of communicating, conflict resolution, contracting, and solve their own problems. So instead of giving them something to eat, you teach them how to sit. Okay, it's 4 o'clock, and we're done. Okay, we'll take 2 more, and then we're done. We'll take that hand in your hand.
What do you do in order to teach someone something? There's assumption there that there's someone who wants to learn. What do you do when you have one party that does not want to participate in that? I mean, you know, they don't want to communicate. They don't want to communicate.
Okay, the Bible says some demons come out but by fasting and by praying.
That's
Seriously.
true. That's true.
I know a man whose wife was unfaithful to him repeatedly. And he was advised not to leave her. Stick by her, but pray on her, as the old folks said. He had the whole church praying for her. She was not interested in the relationship. At the age of 27, she had a massive coronary. She was in perfect health for all intents and purposes. She was on her back. And she had an experience where God literally spoke to her. You're talking about an attitude adjustment. And they got back together with a very strong and very vibrant marriage. So, I don't like the idea of bringing somebody down like that. But Luke 18:1, people are always to pray and not to lose heart. That's the words of Jesus. The antidote for fainting and losing heart is to pray. And let me tell you something, and I've learned it, and Brenda has learned it. When Brenda does not meet my needs, I tell God about it. I talk about her to God. And it's amazing what the Lord will do when you pray for your partner. Lord, I'm depending on you. You're the one who supplies my needs. You have given me this person as a vehicle, but you are the ultimate supplier of my needs. Now I'm lifting her to you. Now you work the thing out. I mean, Brenda wanted a town car, a Lincoln town car. I'm a very frugal. She has another word for it. I'm a very frugal. She told me, you know what she said to me? The Lord is going to help me get my town car. I didn't say it, but I thought to myself, she's really losing it now. She wants that thing so bad she's actually losing touch with reality. She knows good well I'm not going to get her. I mean, $30,000 car gives me a break. Tuition, let me tell you. I said in my mind, I said, okay, if we can find a town car at this price, setting something that was absolutely ludicrous, we'll get it. Granted, you may have been able to buy a 1954 town car at that price without it. Do you know she ended up with a new town car? Do you know that there were some people advertising the car for $4,000 more than my ludicrous price? That was a good price at that. She brought the newspaper to me and said, Look at this price. I said, it's still too high. It was an unbelievable price. It's still too high. I knew I was coming. I'm saying, no way in the world anybody's going to be giving them away. I had already looked at the blue book. I knew what the wholesale price was and everything. And I was way below that. So I know. Do you know the very car? The very car, they dropped it by $4,000. She came with the new paper. Guess what? My car, and I couldn't do anything. My hands were tied. But she was praying on it. Didn't argue about it, anything. She brought it to the Lord, and she got her car. Oh, what needless pain we face. Okay, one more. Now, there was a question right here.
My question is, do you think that women allow us to perpetuate the myth that men are more sexually aggressive because they can use that subtly to control and manipulate relationships?
Okay, the question is, do I believe women perpetuate the myth that men are more sexually aggressive so that they can perpetuate the myth
in order to
manipulate the relationship? Okay. God said to Eve, your desire will what? Be to your husband. Okay. I think in the scheme of things, if you look at the animal world and that kind of thing, you will find that in general, not always, but in general, the male of the species is the aggressive, is the primary initiator. I mean, you don't see a female tiger chasing a male tiger. You just don't see that. So I think the Lord programmed it that way. I think that there are psychological and biological reasons for that. A woman has a lot more to give up than a man. Historically, a woman has to worry about child, bringing a child into the world and that kind of thing. So I think she is almost programmed to be thinking more in terms of relationship and the physical act as an expression of love. A woman is turned on more in the auditory sense, what you talk to her about, that's why Barry White records are so popular, and by physical touch. You put your hand on a woman, that is very, very powerful. A man is visually stimulated. Wow. Woo! Did you see her? Men walking all by, the woman is not, but man, woo! Turning all around in the mall and everything. That's why Playboy, most erotica is bought by men. Even Playboy, some say, is bought more by homosexual men than by women. And I don't know about that, but some have argued it. So while there may be a few women with great libidinal urges who would try to make a partner feel you're the aggressor to manipulate the relationship, I think for the most part, men are probably more the aggressor. And I think we should be moving in a direction where a woman feels comfortable with being the aggressor. Now, because you got such a pretty outfit on, I already told him with the last question we would take one more question because she's into ethnicity. Okay, ethnicity. Yes. Right on, sister. Awesome. Go ahead.
How can you tell when it's time to go to counseling? How can you tell when you're praying enough, when you're fasting enough, and it's time to go to counseling?
Okay. It depends upon the relationship. Okay. How can you tell when it's time enough to go to counseling? If a couple is not committed to the permanence of the relationship, they will probably need to go to counseling much sooner than some who are committed to the permanence of the relationship.